What's it going to take to make USC's special teams special again?
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day. Whether you're watching the show on YouTube or wherever you want to download your podcast, always remember this show is free and never forget how much I appreciate your support. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. Terms and conditions will apply. When you have guys on your roster, like a Zachariah Branch, you already have a special player playing special teams. And that's never really been an issue for USC throughout her years. USC has had skill players oozing through her pores. I mean, for infinity. And occasionally you get a big badass kicker, punter who can kick, the balls going left, going right, down in the middle. Think, David Beeler, Tom the Bomb Malone. And even once in a while, USC has a Soma Vanuku who will show up and, just plays with reckless abandon on coverage. But it's so rare where USC has had all the right ingredients to bake the cake, that special teams cake at one time. Never seems like they have all the ingredients in the pantry when they need them. Look, one of the topics that comes up every few weeks with USC fans is that Lincoln Riley does not have a full-time, dedicated special teams coach. He doesn't believe in him. And he believes it's his philosophy, and I get it. I've explained it. He believes there's just too much standing around for one coach when the team isn't working on special teams. And it essentially becomes, a waste of time and money. Like I said, I've explained it before, but I'll do it again. This past season, your special teams duties among the coaching staff. This is how it was delegated. Coach Kyle McDonald, Luke Heward, they worked with your return specialists. So Coach Kyle, Coach Luke, punters, kickers, those were the guys. And then the rest of the coaching staff would help out when it came time to work on coverage schemes. They work on special teams every practice. Or so we're told, because, we're limited on what we get to see. But I have to assume that any linebacker coach and pretty much any defensive coach understands, how to coach players to stay in their lane when they're, if they're doing kickoff coverage. I'm pretty sure they know how to teach pursuit angles. And if they don't know how to coach somebody to wrap up properly, they're in the wrong industry. Get out of coaching. My point is, you do not need a special teams dedicated coach. Not for those things. USC has a full-time special teams analyst. His name is Coach Ryan Doherty. Let me give you a little bit of his background. So that you can say, you know what, Lincoln Riley does take special teams seriously, even though he doesn't have a full-time on-the-field coach. Before coming to USC, Ryan Doherty spent the previous 5 seasons, from 2017 through 2021, as a special teams analyst, guess where? At Oklahoma. So he is another one of Coach Riley's inner circle of trust. Now, before that, Doherty was the special teams coordinator, and he was also an offensive assistant at Lehigh University. That was in 2015 and 2016. Back then, he had all-league punters, kickers at the FCS level. the football championship level, where they had the playoffs before the FBS adopted that. And before that, he actually spent 5 seasons at East Carolina. The first 2 years as a special teams assistant, and the final 3 years he was a grad assistant working with special teams and offense. So in a sense, and if we're being honest here, Coach Riley has a dedicated special teams coach. He just can't coach the guys when they're at practice on the field. One of those rules that the NCAA thinks is, we're going to limit the amount of people talking. I don't know how you enforce that one, whatever. So what an analyst can do is he can point out things, and he can encourage players, but he just can't coach them when they're at practice. He can point things out, he can encourage, but his work is done behind the scenes, film room, where no one's looking. So where does USC have their special teams issue? It's not with the coaching staff, or not having a dedicated full-time special teams coach. It's with the roster. They need more dudes. They need guys who they can use, so they don't have to use their regular starters. Because when you're putting your regular, 2 deep guys out there, there's a good chance you're putting them in a situation where an injury can occur. And I'm not saying guys are holding back. I'm just saying, if you don't want to waste those guys, their energy on special teams. Save them for offense or for defense. So again, you don't need a special teams coach to teach someone how to kick the ball through the back of the end zone. You really don't. You get a guy who can consistently do that, like a David Beeler from in the past. All of a sudden, you've alleviated one part of your special team duties. You don't have to worry about kickoff coverage. They're not returning the kicks. And again, I'm not sure what a dedicated special teams coach can do with Zachariah Branch. He's special. The film room is where you make his adjustments. How to set up blockers, that type of stuff. USC has had its special teams coaches before. Including ones with great pedigrees like John Baxter. Would it be great if USC had a Frank Beamer type of coach? Frank Beamer used to be the head coach at Virginia Tech, and his teams always seemed like they always came up with a blocked punt every game. It didn't happen like that, but it always felt like that. They were good on special teams. You can count on them to make a play when you needed someone to make a play. Of course, you want someone like a Frank Beamer or his son Shane Beamer, who was in charge of special teams. He is, I think, the head football coach now at South Carolina. So while you want that type of special knowledge, what you need are the players. I wouldn't say that Coach Riley doesn't appreciate special teams. Quite the opposite. He just appreciates it and approaches it differently. So look, if someone wants to kick the ball to Zachariah, I say go for it. That's not where USC has issues on special teams. They do just fine with their return teams. Again, you have the players that can do it. Last year, Zachariah returned a punt and a kickoff for a touchdown. So they were doing something right. USC needs to get better on coverage and making field goals. The first part, that can be coached up. Making your kicks, though, that's kind of like shooting free throws if you're a basketball player. And we're going to be talking about the USC and men's and women's team in the next segment. But first, we're going to finish this up here. So this is why, when kickers, they're typically the loneliest person on the football team. They're just left to their own. They're kind of left off to their own devices. You'll see them, kicking into the net while, offense or defense is on the field. So unless they're kicking a walk-off field goal like a Matt Bormeister or a Frank Jordan, um, there's not a whole lot you can do with a kicker. These guys just need to put in their work and become consistent. It's muscle memory, like shooting your free throws. You know what I like about Fire TV? Well, if you got a smart TV, just turn it on and it's already there. Or if you don't have a smart TV, go get a Fire Stick and plug it in. And once you plug that in, you are ready to go. It's easy peasy. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV also offers amazing viewing experiences with the smart TV. And I just told you about, if you don't have one, go get a Fire Stick. So whether it's opening weekend for baseball or the college basketball tournament that's right around the corner, you're going to want to make sure you have Fire TV. And did you know that with Fire TV, they created the Fire TV channels that are going to deliver you a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, and they do it all for free. That includes all of us on at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all of the game analysis, highlights, and more, keeping you up to date on all of the latest in the world of sports, March Madness, NBA, Major League Baseball, and a lot more than that. Check out Fire TV. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and your Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me. Learn more all about Fire TV at www.amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. All right, we're going to talk a little bit of hoops in this segment, and we're going to get back to football in my Friday rant. You're going to stick around for that. Trust me. You're going to want to, because it's about recruiting. So, ladies first. The women of Troy, they've started their Pac-12 tournament for the final time. They won their opening round matchup against Arizona. They're out there in Las Vegas. They beat the Lady Wildcats 65-62. And they're going to take on the other school from Los Angeles in the second round tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Check it out, Pac-12 Network. And if you can't get out to Vegas, watch them. The ladies are really good. As for the men, it's almost over. Just one more regular season game left to go, guys. However, the men took on ASU Thursday night at Galen Center. One of those late night tip-offs, 8 p.m. Yeah, I'm not a fan. Not a fan at all. Those games just end too late. And then I got to come home and I got to get ready and do this show that I love doing. I just don't like doing them really late at night. Anyways, mini rant out of the way. I can only pray and hope that the Big Ten says, no, we're not going to do that here. No more 8 p.m. tip-offs. Please. Anyways, I guess if you want to look at it, if you want to put a positive spin on it, USC tipped off tonight at 8 p.m. Saturday, they're going to play Arizona, final game of the regular season. That game will tip off at 7 p.m. And the way it looks right now, Pac-12 tournament for the men starts next Wednesday. Looks like USC's tipping off at 8 p.m. So, might as well just get used to it, right? Here's what you've been waiting for. They beat Arizona State 81-73, and they improved their overall record to 13-17. They're 7-12 now in conference. Again, one game left. But with that win, they also guaranteed a winning home court record, even if they lose against Arizona Saturday night. Hey, I'm looking for any positive with this team right now. Another positive, they've won 4 out of their last 6 games because they're healthy. And that's something Coach Enfield continues to kind of emphasize. This game, they got off to a really good start. They led 13-4 at the first immediate timeout. Boogie was perfect from the field. He had 8 points. He had 2 3-pointers, and he also made a couple of free throws. However, he also had a couple of early fouls that kept him on the bench for most of the half. When he did get back into the game, Arizona State had taken a 21-20 lead, and there was about 7 minutes left. He played another couple of minutes, missed 2 shots, and then he finished the half with 8 points, 9 minutes of action. Foul trouble saddled both he and Isaiah Collier in this game. Now, Boogie in the second half found his rhythm again. He had his rhythm until the refs took him out of it. He finished the game with 28 points. He was 6 for 8 from deep, so he was putting on his best Steph Curry impersonation. And as a team, USC actually shot free throws really well, 25 for 30. But I'll tell you what, the guards, they need to make theirs. They missed 4 of the 5 that they missed. Yeah. When I was coaching high school basketball, if a guard missed a free throw during the game, he owed me 20 push-ups at the next practice. Yeah, I was a hard ass. I cut that number in half if you were 6'5" or taller. In high school, 6'5" is usually your center. There was a funny moment at the end of the first half with it happened up in press row. There was about 16 seconds left on the clock, and Collier had gotten the offensive rebound. And he was ready to go back up, do something with the ball. And all of a sudden, everyone in the same row, we're all saying, hold it, hold it, hold it. Wait for the last shot. He was getting ready to do something dumb. He collected himself. The light bulb went off, and he did the right thing. For the game, statistically, Collier probably had one of his poor games of the season. And foul trouble was one reason. But here's what Isaiah needs to understand. You know, when Arizona goes into a zone deep, Arizona State goes into their zone defense, dribbling into 3 guys isn't going to work. Just not. And I get that he's trying to draw a foul and get to the free throw line. But other teams have figured out he can't go to his right. And teams know this. So he ended up finishing the game with 8 points, 5 assists. Not bad. He also had 4 turnovers. What's surprised me a little bit is that Kobe Johnson is USC's facilitator, the lead guard when Collier's on the bench. And I say that because Kobe, he makes some really poor decisions sometimes when he passes the ball. There was one where he was coming up court and he just telegraphs. He's looking at the guy he's going to throw it to from half court, ball over his head, and he's trying to throw it in the corner. That's not a high IQ play. I love Kobe Johnson, though. His game, the reason I love his game is because he has a defense-first mentality. In this game, he had a steal, 2 blocks. Joshua Morgan, you could block shots like no one else. You know what else he can do? He can shoot free throws. He's got really good form. He was 6 for 6 in the game. I just wish he could finish better around the rim. Get nasty, Joshua. Every single time you have to have this mindset. I'm ripping that rim down. Halftime, the game was tied at 32. In the second half, I want to know where this combination was all season long. Joshua Morgan, Boogie Ellis, they were 2-man game, top of the key, and beautiful pick and roll. It's like gorgeous basketball. Where was this? Where's this been all year? About 15 minutes left to go in the game. USC had a 44-38 lead. Unfortunately, both Boogie and Collier were on the bench with 3 fouls, and that's a lot of offense. Typically, those guys are your leading scorers. Collier ended up picking up his 4th foul with about 8.5 minutes to go in the game, roughly. USC was up 61-53 at that point. And I was a little concerned because Isaiah has been carrying the team these last few games down the stretch, getting to the free throw line. Wasn't able to do that in this game. I don't know about you. Do you remember when, and it hasn't been so much of this year, but previous years, USC used to be able to execute some amazing inbound set plays. This year, they're just terrible at it. I don't know. It's weird. This game, though, they were a little bit better. Something else that they were good at, and this was out of their control, but the ball was bouncing lucky for them. A couple of times, their hustle paid off. Even when the refs didn't call a kick ball, I mean, this was a pretty obvious one, the ball just got kicked right back to a Trojan who made the bucket. They needed that type of stuff tonight because, again, they out-rebounded Arizona State by 10. You don't hear that very often. But because USC was in foul trouble, their guards, Boogie and Isaiah, I asked Coach Enfield after the game about this. You guys were getting killed in the paint. Arizona State, just how many points did they have in the paint? Let me look at the stat here real quick. They beat up USC 32-14. When you're running a zone defense, you're supposed to be taking away the paint. Wasn't happening. So they need to get better with that zone defense. So I said, Coach, why were you doing that when you weren't, it wasn't successful? And he says, well, I had to protect my guys. They were in foul trouble. Fortunately, Arizona State wasn't making their outside shot. USC was. I think USC was 50% from 3-point range. They were really good. Typical USC, double-digit lead, second half, 6.5 minutes left. And if you've been following this team at all this season like I have, this is when USC fans, they kind of start to white-knuckle it. Because USC hoops and big leads, they don't know how to play well together. They just don't. And right on cue, they start turning the ball over. Some sloppy passes. I mentioned that one by Kobe just a moment ago. In this game, though, they were able to, kind of hold on. Now they've won 2 in a row. It was really interesting after the game, and when Coach Enfield was talking with the media, he was really animated. Someone asked him a question, and it wasn't a question that should have put him on the defensive. Maybe he didn't hear the question, but I've never heard Coach Enfield get this loud and this demonstrative with his voice, wanting to make sure he got his points across. It's like, whoa. I think he's starting to feel the pressure. I spoke with someone at the game who works with the basketball program. And look, I know injuries played a role this year, and Coach Enfield reemphasized that during his press conference. But this person told me, I said, look, there's something else wrong this year. It wasn't just about the injuries. He couldn't put his finger on it, but he hangs around the team. He knows it. He can sense it. You know what? There's just too much talent for these guys to be hanging around and with the record they have. So there's one more game left against Arizona, Saturday night, senior day. The Wildcats, they beat the Bruins in Westwood, 88-65. Here's what Kobe Johnson said after the game. I think once we just clean up just holding the lead and how to finish out games, I don't think there's anybody that can beat us. I think there's a really strong chance we're going to make a strong run here in the Pac-12 tournament and surprise a lot of people. Well, I appreciate that positivity. He's a team captain. I can see it now. I really can. USC is going to win 3 games in a row in Las Vegas. They're going to get everyone's hopes up. Oh my God, USC, they can win one more game. They're going to go to the tournament. They're going to end up losing a close game at the buzzer. It just feels right. It just feels like this is how this season's going to end. Look, winning 4 in a row is going to be a tall order. Let's see if they can win 3 in a row and end the regular season on a positive note. That's what we're looking for right now. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to have as many top tier candidates as possible to interview. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster, and they do it for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than a billion with a B professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. And hiring is so easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, quick, and easy. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, here we go. This episode's Friday Rant, I told you, it's going to have a recruiting twist tied to it, but it's a positive twist. And then it's going to turn negative. But let's focus on the positive because that's really what it's about. Even the negative is a positive. Look, this really shouldn't be a rant, but it is, dang gummit. And I had someone send me a message regarding a specific local recruit that USC is after. This is what the message said. I know so-and-so has some trips still planned, but I'm 99% positive that he's coming. Coach Riley just got off the phone with him just now, and his dad is telling him it's USC. That's great news, right? Well, that's not what this rant is about. It was the second part of the message that kind of got me both excited, and then at the same time, it kind of got me a little ticked off too. Here's why. This is what the second part of the message said. And I'm not going to I'm not going to mention which high school coaches, but the coaches are telling me Coach Riley is more relentless than Mario Cristobal ever was. And Mario was relentless. Well, Mario Cristobal, Miami Hurricanes current head coach, used to be the Oregon Ducks head coach. Really strong recruiter. Really strong. That's what he's known for. Now, the positive is Riley, Coach Lincoln Riley right now, he is grinding on the recruiting trail, right? That's what we want to hear. But that indictment about before he got to USC, that says a lot. It really does. And it explains, at least partially, why USC is trying to get the local schools, high school coaches back in their good graces. And this isn't about Oregon or even Mario Cristobal, who can recruit. He just can't coach and develop. This rant is about not having a staff that was considered relentless and aggressive recruiters before Lincoln Riley arrived. Dante Williams was known for recruiting, but I cherry picked it. I went and I took a peek at the 2020 coaching staff for USC, not 2021, when the poop hit the fan, but in 2020. Graham Harrell and Todd Orlando were the coordinators, offensive and defense, respectively. Those guys weren't known for their recruiting prowess. Sean Snyder, special teams coordinator. He was a special teams genius at Kansas State under his dad, Bill. Kerry Colbert, Mike Jinks, Craig Niver, Clay McGuire, Vic Soto, Seth Dagey. That was your coaching staff. Among those, who would you characterize as a relentless recruiter? I don't know, if I had to, I would say Craig Niver, maybe Coach Soto. By the way, I got word that some of spring camp's practices are going to be really early in the morning, like dark 30 early. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Anyways, back to the recruiting thing. I love the fact to hear that Coach Riley is being known as a relentless recruiter, and that USC is making inroads again with the local high schools. That's positive. Love hearing that. And I thought you'd want to hear about that too. So let's keep that going. I think Coach Riley even improved his staff more on the defensive side of the ball. I've been talking about, this during the entire offseason. They've got visits lined up. Guys want to make sure they're reserving their space in June for those big official visits. So there you go. Recruiting is doing much better thanks to Lincoln Riley. And again, this wasn't really a rant, but that part about he's even more relentless than Mario Cristobal, I want to drive that point home because that was what Mario was known for, recruiting. Okay. Lincoln Riley is now making it hard for recruits to say no, and that's a positive. All right, before we get out of here, again, I mentioned spring camp. Going to have some early practices. I'll have to get used to that. Still waiting for the official schedule. I did find out that the new roster for this year, it's going to be released, a day before camp opens. So March 18th, mark your calendars because spring camp opens on March 19th. There's going to be a lot of new jersey numbers that we're going to have to learn. And there's going to be a couple of new number zeros as well. So again, I don't have the official spring camp practice schedule just yet. What I do know, practices will be on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. All right. Guess what? We're at the end of the show. It's another week of Locked On USC in the books. Your team every day, part of the Locked On Network. Again, I cannot say thank you enough for helping make this show what it's becoming. If you're watching on YouTube, become a subscriber. It's quick, it's easy, it's free. Smash that thumbs up like you're the Hulk. Don't forget to hit that bell notification button, and that way you do not miss one episode of Locked On USC. And I will be back with 5 more episodes next week. We'll be talking about USC hoops. We'll be diving head on in to spring camp that opens up real soon. And of course, I will keep you updated with recruiting. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.